right, you ready?
Yep. Oh my God. So let me tell you about. For a minute I thought this video was just not going to happen because I live about an hour away. I got in my car to drive here, and I have gotten to where I use Google Maps to go, even places I know how to get there, because it tells me if there's traffic problems, speed traps, and that sort of thing. Well, of course, it told me, hey, there's a traffic problem ahead. Go ahead and exit the interstate and come on in. Mm-hmm. So I exited at Decatur and ran out of gas. And even though my gas gauge says that I am absolutely full, I discovered today that it doesn't work, and it just says full all the time. And so I called a tow truck. They got me gassed up. I got back on the way. Google Maps told me to get back on the interstate, so I did. And then it told me, oh, there's a new incident ahead at the 310 exit. So I've just been sitting in traffic all day. Finally got here. We got set up, and we had 2 videos planned for today. I don't think I'm going to have time for those. That second video involved a personal beauty of yours, which is right behind us. It's behind Ray, and we've purposely got it blacked out now so that it's a little hard to see. But I'm going to make a real quick run and turn the lights on, and Ray can tell you what's back there.
All right, so what we got is the 2021 Shelby GT500. It is a 5.2 liter supercharged, just 760 horsepower. This is actually the carbon fiber track pack car. The carbon fiber track pack car is it's an $18,500 option. It comes with carbon fiber wheels, comes with a carbon fiber wing, carbon fiber dash. It basically has all the options, but the carbon fiber is obviously, beautiful to look at, but it's a weight savings thing. The wheels have less rotating mass, so when you have less rotating mass, you are able to accelerate quicker. And it also comes with a rear seat delete, so you're not taking your grandkids anywhere. But you can take your buddy for a ride. It does have a passenger seat. But the carbon fiber track pack car, as far as horsepower, there's no advantage in horsepower over the base model. They say the tune's a little different, and I think I can tell a little difference in the tune. Myself, the throttle response seems a little crisper, but as far as the horsepower and torque, it's the same as the base model, GT500. 760 horsepower and 500 something pounds of torque. Can't remember right offhand, but it will scream. It's the fastest production vehicle I've been in. Without the traction control, I probably wouldn't be talking to y'all right now. I'd probably be in the ditch somewhere, because with that, it's got this unreal traction control. It will put down the maximum amount of horsepower that the asphalt will allow. And you can actually look in the rearview mirror and you can see a black powder mark. Not a thick black, but a powder mark. And then when it finally gets fast enough to hook up, then the powder marks go away and you're just pinned to the seat.
So I can say, I hadn't ridden in this one. So my friend Ray here has 2 GT500s like you do. And I have ridden in the other one. He didn't have this one at the time. And my best explanation of the way that car feels under acceleration is real similar to one of my favorite movie scenes where Thanos is fighting the Avengers, and you got Tony Stark there who seems to be asking permission from Doctor Strange to go ahead and proceed, and Doctor Strange says, not yet, not yet. And he finally gives permission. And it felt to me almost like the car's computer, even though Ray is asking for the power, the computer was saying, not yet, not yet. Now, because when I rode in it, when we first took off, I thought, okay, man, it feels fast. But, you can't always tell how fast a car is by how it feels. So I was like, well, it probably just puts down impressive numbers, but it doesn't feel. And then it hit second gear. And I was like, oh, I see what's going on here. We got this acceleration doesn't feel like a natural acceleration. And then we hit third gear, and it was even worse. I'm telling you, the car pulls harder in third gear than it does in second, and harder in second than it does in first. And that I think that's why I'm sure that's why Ford decided not to offer these cars with a manual transmission. I just don't think there's a good way for them to meter that. With a transmission, there's a direct mechanical link, and with this transmission here, it's metered.
Yeah, you can't beat technology. I mean, when you take a computer and traction control, you put them together, and you can't beat it. A man cannot shift quick enough. He cannot foresee the traction out there.
I can do it.
Jason can, but not me. I would end up in a ditch.
I would 100% wreck.
I have turned the traction control off once, and I turned it back on because I was scared I was going to wreck my car. But yeah, it's you can't beat technology. It's amazing what Ford did with these cars. It took them 6 years to develop this car. Like they did not have a GT500. 2014 was the last year, and it was a stick shift, and it had traction control, but this traction control is on a whole nother level. It's not even close.
I can 100% vouch for that. Most of the time when I've been in a car with traction control, you can feel power loss, but you don't feel anything here except for the power is gradually released. The best way I can describe it is literally the movie scene where the computer says, not yet, okay now. Because that is what it feels like. You don't get that normal jerky, from a typical traction control. So what do you think, Ray? You think the roads are too wet today, or you think today's a good day to take her for a spin?
Hey, it's always a good day.
We may try to take her for a spin. So I almost feel a little put off by this to start with, but it seems like a silly thing, I guess, because I'm just not used to seeing it right there. Has that been a little bit of an adaptation for you, or is it pretty easy to get onto?
Well, yeah. I keep wanting to grab the stick shift, and there's nothing there. And it feels really weird to be in such a high-performance car and turn a knob. But, it's the way of the future, I guess.
You know what I used to do to my wife all the time? I would just stomp the brakes and make her, it was because I was used to a manual.
Yeah.
And I would periodically go to grab a gear shifter that wasn't there and try to press a clutch that wasn't there, and I would catch just the edge of the brake pedal.
Yeah.
And she would always want some kind of explanation, and I didn't have one. What can you say?
You ready?
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's 120.
Oh, geez. You mean 30?
Yeah, 130.
No, just a regular old 30.
Yeah, 30. We're in Mexico, though, right?
Yeah, filmed with a potato.
Yes.
And computer generated and all that stuff. It seems like today I felt the tires want to walk a little bit with us that I didn't experience last time. Was that in my head or that?
No, it tries its best to break traction. If it does, it's just a minute amount, and then it drops the horsepower down, and then as soon as the tires hook up, it goes right back. But yeah, sometimes you'll feel that spin at like around a 30-40 kick.
Now, we did it from a dig last time, and it didn't break at all. Were you doing something there, or was that just the car?
Just when the horsepower come in, it was trying its best to put it down and couldn't quite do it. That's a lot of horsepower to be putting down at one time.
Yes, it most certainly is.
So from a dig.
From a dig.
Oh
man! Wow!
I love that feeling. So we're back to 30 again.
The rush.
Yeah, that was 0 to 30.
Unbelievable. So recently, I was involved in a conversation where a German guy, and I forget the nationality of the other guy, but they're big on making fun of American cars, and they just kept on, and particularly picking on, they think anybody who would buy one of these cars is an idiot, because there's no difference really in the way they look between this and, say, a four-cylinder Mustang. And they were trying to get a rise out of me, and that was the one that finally I said, no, that people who buy a GT500 don't buy a GT500 because they want, a Ferrari. They buy a GT500 because they like Mustangs, and this is the top offering that a Mustang has. And there is 0% chance that you could confuse a GT500 with your base model Mustang.
Well, there's really nothing about this car that's Mustang. I mean, except the doors and the trunk lid and maybe the glass. That's it. I mean, the front fascia, the rear, everything about it, the hood, the engine, the radiator, the transmission, the rear, everything about this car is it's a different animal. You know, there's nothing about this car that's a GT. This thing's got Magna-Ride suspension. It's
it's a different engine. Everything about it's different.
Yeah, it's totally different animal.
This is one of those people who he drives all exotics, and he thinks anybody who doesn't is somehow beneath him. And I like exotics too. I think that's one of the things where people, I think they run down the wrong direction. Where a lot of people feel like you have to like Ford or Chevy. You got to pick a team.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel that way. I see there's no reason you can't like them all. And certainly I like exotic cars too. But if you had to pick out a person and say, well, that guy is probably a jerk or a douche or an a-hole because he drives an exotic car, this would have been the guy.
Well, you know, I got to go back on one of my statements. This engine is a Coyote-based engine, but there's nothing about it the same. You know, the heads flow better, the rods, the pistons, everything's different. The liters, it's a larger liter, it's 5.2.
And there's my beautiful baby.
There's Sally.
Yep. Maybe in a million years or so, I can get me something like this, but for right now, I'm happy with mine. With
Sally,
my baby.
Sally is a beauty.
Okay, I didn't feel it shift, so I was waiting to feel it go into gear. I guess you don't feel it.
Yeah, it's crazy how smooth this transmission is.
Now, what are these transmissions called? There's a specific name for these, isn't there?
It is a dual clutch transmission, DCT. They were in exotics. Still in exotics, but they were in exotics before they put them in the C8 Corvette and the Mustang. So the Shelby actually had it first. So in 2020, Shelby come out first. So with their cars, but they got a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, and the Corvette's got a 8-speed dual clutch. The dual clutch shifts so fast, it's like 800 thousandths of a second or something. It's crazy how quick they shift. And a man cannot shift a vehicle as fast as that computer can shift it. And something else, this transmission, whenever it shifts, it actually gives the engine fuel. So it's almost like dumping the clutch every time it shifts. So you pick up speed on the shift.
I'm grabbing for a
I know, I do it all the time.
Grabbing for a shift lever that isn't there. The steering is so responsive. I'm used to a little bit more input, so I'm actually giving us a little bit more jerky drive than I would like. But I will say this, it's not a bad car to drive. It feels pretty good. You know, most of the time you get a car with this much power and it's lost all of its road manners. Oh my God. And there was 15 miles per hour.
Yes. I tell you, this car puts a smile on your face every time you drive it.
One of my good friends recently made the comment when we did a very similar thing. He said, that's one of the things in this world that makes life worth living.
That's right.
And I can't think of a better way to describe it.
I tell you something else, I'm sure you've noticed it, but it hugs the road so, you know, it's got those Michelin Sport Cup 2 tires, and the suspension, it hugs the road so good that you feel every ripple in the asphalt. Like if the road starts leaning this way, the car wants to move with the road.
I do know what you're talking about. So one of the things that I enjoy about a sports car is still being able to feel the road. So my wife and I, there was a period of time when we went through the European import cars. We wanted the BMW, the Mercedes, whatever it was. And we went and drove a BMW 335, and we also drove, I don't know, some kind of Mercedes. I don't remember what it was. But it was supposed to be an equivalent Mercedes. And what I found was that the Mercedes did not feel as fun. It felt a little bit more like your grandpa's car.
Yeah.
And the BMW, well, their slogan used to be the ultimate driving machine, and I understood why they said it. It felt like a good driving machine. It did not feel like something that you would go get groceries in. You know, the Mercedes felt like driving a couch. How about that?
There you go.
And the BMW felt like driving a sports car, even though it was, you know, a family sedan. This car does not, for all the computer aided this and that, I don't feel like you've lost contact with the pavement. I don't know of a better way to say that. So we're cruising right now at a pretty comfortable cruising speed. Maybe we've come up on somebody who we wanted to go around, and I can tell this car just, oh my God.
Yes.
Man, so.
It's worth every dime. That's all I can say.
So I'll say this about it. People who want to, you know, trash talk a Mustang maybe because they're in love with a McLaren or a Ferrari or whatever else it is, I get that. Because people who are in love with a Camaro, which is an equivalent and maybe even a lesser car, will trash talk this car too. So I get it, you know, wanting to belong to your team and saying what you want to say. But I feel like if you brought down aliens from space who had never experienced any of those cars and had none of those biases, they would have a hard time explaining to you why somebody would think that their Ferrari or McLaren was better than this car. I mean, they're two different kinds of cars that they offer a different kind of experience. But for me, there's just nothing more America than this car is right here.
Well, the GT500, especially this carbon fiber edition, it's me. It's what I like. It's not what I want anybody else to think. I don't care what other people. I mean, it's what I like. It's what I enjoy. Makes me happy. I'm a Ford guy. I've had Mustangs my whole life, and
that's a rough patch right there.
Yeah, I wish they'd pave this road.
I know where you're going. I actually have had to tell people with my car there. It's in the beginning there used to be a lot of insistence that I do an LS swap, and I got nothing against an LS swap. I think that's a fantastic option, but it's not what I wanted to do. And some of the people that I would tell that to, oh, that sounds great, you know, do what you want. But there were some who would get real forceful about it, and almost in disbelief that I didn't think their idea was better than what I had already planned. Yeah. And I had just got to the point where I had told a couple people that's a great idea. And when you get your car, I think you should put an LS in it. And that kind of stops that argument. But the reality is, you know, there's a lot of options out there. And if you like Ferraris and McLarens, knock yourself out. But if you want a good old slice of American history, this is it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most powerful. This is the most powerful production Mustang ever made. I mean, it's. I've drove all of them, and there's nothing that can compare to this.
As far as I'm concerned, this car's an absolute home run. I feel like it deserves a day at the Barber Motorsports.
If you'll buy the tires for me, I'll take it.
So I just bought my own, and we got a video coming about reviewing two different types of tire letter paint. You can see one of them has held up fairly well, and one of them made it about 50 miles. That review is coming. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to my friend Ray for letting us go for a spin in his GT500. And so that's just not the kind of thing that you get to do every day. Certainly not the kind of thing that I get to do every day. And I just wanted to bring it to you. I know that the internet is full of things that can be said about the GT500, but this is a special machine, and I wanted to, I guess, put my 2 cents in there too. So if you enjoy what you're seeing, I'd like for you to give me a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe. Also, notice the sign that I have in the background. Today I have the backlit Pontiac sign, but the original sign is still up for grabs, and the contest is beginning to wind down. It'll probably be given away in the next 45 days. If you don't know how to win that sign, I'm not going to tell you in this video. You're going to have to go back and watch one of my earlier videos where I tell exactly how to win it. So, until next time, this is Jason with Saving Sally, and this has been Carticulate. Anything you want to add?
Go to his page, like it. This man puts a lot of hard work into it, and he's got some great videos.
Thank you very much, Ray.